Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to this week's Wisdom Wednesday. We are standing here with Sandri Appelgrain, one of our private social workers. We are here to speak to her about, the child abuse that we're having in society. We want to find out a few things from her. Number one, we want to find out what causes it, how can we stop it, and where can children go to, for help. How are you, Sandri?
Well, thank you to me.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We firstly want to find out from you, what really causes, child abuse?
To me, we need to look at very different factors. I think if we are looking at the individual inflicting child abuse, there are different factors that we need to take into consideration. When it's an individual like a parent or an employer on a one-to-one basis, we need to look at the abuser's profile. So we are looking at factors such as the person feeling isolated and not having support. We need to look at the person perhaps presenting with mental health issues. Alcohol and drug abuse is a big concern to us. Issues like stress that the abuser might be experiencing at the time that he or she is inflicting the abuse, low self-esteem, or obviously then also poor childhood memories, their own experiences that can actually contribute to the manner in which they believe abuse is normal. But then also we can find abuse within a group setting when a system is abusing its victims. So in a situation like that, very often we find that the abuser has a lack of qualification, a lack of competence, and a lack of expertise. They don't know how to handle a situation. So that can be one of the factors. Also, there could be a value system amongst the group members that inflicts the abuse, where it's actually acceptable for them to use force or violence to get something done, to actually exert their power over the victim. So that is something else that we are looking at. So in the end of the day, we want to understand also if there's an attitude of acceptance of children being physically punished. So if we find that there's an attitude and a value system, lack of skills, lack of competence, lack of qualification, that normally comes down to a situation where we can understand abuse within that system a little bit better.
So I just want to find out, as people, ordinary people, citizens, how can we, eradicate abuse before we go to experts, like you?
To me, to the individual experiencing challenges as I've just mentioned, I think it's very important for that person to understand that it is necessary to find assistance, to reach out for help and support, because we want, if we are emotionally stable and emotionally healthy, then the risk of us becoming an abuser is less. Okay, so that is the one thing that we need to consider. The other consideration obviously is if we are employing people working with children, we have to scrutinize their qualifications. We have to understand whether they are experienced, whether they have expertise, and whether they actually have the emotional intelligence to work with children. Also, that goes for elderly people or any other vulnerable group in society, such as disabled people. So that is the one thing that we need to consider. And then, very important, the law actually asks, the Children's Act, actually ask us to check whether people are registered on the sexual offence register, because if that is the case, they cannot work with children. Okay, so that is the other thing that we can do to be proactive. But if we are faced with the situation where we have found that a child has been abused, a disabled person has been abused, or an elderly person has been abused, or abuse in general, women abuse, abuse against men, boys, then we have an obligation to report that abuse.
And lastly, I just want to find out from you, where can children go for help?
Okay, to me, so in the Children's Act, the law actually gives an opportunity to children to approach the children's court. They don't need to have anybody helping them with that. They can actually, from their own, if they are able to reach the children's court, they can have access to the children's court. That is in accordance to the Children's Act. So that is the one thing that children can do if they are really in dire need. But then also, obviously, we know that the Childline is available. Childline is available, but then in situations where children reach out to us, we always say, you know, who is the person that you trust? Who do you trust in your life? Sometimes it's a teacher, sometimes it's another parent, sometimes it's a step parent, but they have to tell someone, but that person immediately have an obligation on them to report to a designated social worker or a police official if we are talking about sexual abuse. So, in a nutshell, that is really what I can contribute to this conversation.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sandri.
You are
We've heard
very
it from
welcome.
her for this Wisdom Wednesday. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
You're welcome to me.
All right,
Thank
cool.
you.